The galaxy was quiet, but silence never lasted long. In the darkness of deep space, far from any safe world, a shadow began to grow. It was not a single ship. It was not a scouting patrol. It was an armada. Hundreds of alien warships advanced. Together, their engines burning red, their weapons armed and ready. They moved like a storm, steady and unstoppable, filling the void with their presence. On their bridges, alien commanders stood tall with pride. They had conquered many worlds before. Planets had fallen to their fleets in days, sometimes in hours. They had broken defenses, burned cities, and silenced voices that cried for mercy. To them, this mission was no different. Another star system, another helpless people, another easy victory to carve into their empire's history. The fleet advanced without fear. Inside the empire's flagship, the commander sat on his throne. His scales shimmered under the red lights of the control room, his eyes cold and sure. Around him, officers worked their stations with confidence. The screen showed the fleet stretching for miles across the void, a wall of firepower no enemy could resist. His voice was calm, almost bored as he spoke. Soon, another world will fall. None can stand against us. None ever will. His crew responded with sharp agreement. They believed him, as they always had. To them, humans were no threat. Humanity was a young race, late to the stars, still crawling compared to ancient empires. Their fleets were small, their technology primitive, their worlds fragile. The Empire's warriors mocked the idea of Earth sending warships against them. Children in metal shells, one officer sneered. We will crush them as we crush all others. The fleet pushed deeper into the system. Scouts spread wide, scanning planets, searching for defenses. The reports came back quickly. No fleet waiting, no armies standing, only one signal ahead. One ship, alone. At first, the officers laughed. Their voices echoed across the bridge with cruel amusement. One ship dares to stand in our path, fools. They expected it to flee the moment they approached, to turn and run in fear. Yet as the scanners focused, confusion spread. The human warship did not move. It did not retreat. It held position in the center of the void, waiting. On the enemy flagship, silence fell for the first time. The commander leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. Why do they not run? He muttered. His officers quickly offered answers. Perhaps their engines are broken. Perhaps they are sending a message, begging for mercy. But none of the guesses fit. The ship's signal was steady, its weapons armed. It was not broken. It was not afraid. The commander studied the strange readings on his screen. The hull of the human vessel glowed faintly with blue lines, strange patterns that did not match any known design. Its engines pulsed, slowly like the heartbeat of something alive. And most unsettling of all, it gave off a presence, a weight in the void, as if the ship itself was watching them. Still, arrogance smothered doubt. The commander leaned back and let out a cold laugh. It matters not what tricks they use. One ship cannot stand against hundreds. We will erase it. The fleet advanced. Closer, their formation tightening. Soldiers inside their ships prepared for battle, checking weapons, loading torpedoes, powering shields. Their voices were confident. Some even laughed. One warship against an empire? This will be over in seconds, but not all were so sure. On one cruiser, a young officer stared at his scanner with unease. The readings made no sense. The human ship's energy levels spiked and vanished, like waves appearing and disappearing in the ocean. Its weapons were unfamiliar, its shielding unreadable. He tried to speak, but his captain silenced him. Do not be fooled. It is only human scrap metal. We are the Empire. We do not fear. Yet the unease lingered. The human ship did not move. It waited, calm, silent, like a predator crouched in the dark. From the surface of a nearby colony world, frightened civilians watched the skies. They had seen alien fleets before. They knew the terror of black warships blotting out the stars. But this time, they saw something different. A single vessel standing against the tide. To them it looked like madness. To some, it looked like hope. The Empire's fleet reached firing range. The commander raised his clawed hand. "Erase them," he ordered. Weapons charged. Cannons hummed with deadly power. Torpedo bays opened. The heavens themselves seemed to tense as the first blast prepared to fire. The Empire's fleet, confident and fearless, believed the human warship would be torn apart in the first volley. But even as the order echoed across the armada, the human vessel remained silent. Its lights glowed brighter. Its engines pulsed, steady, and the strange blue markings along its hull burned like fire. It did not move. It did not speak. It simply waited. For the first time, a shadow of doubt crept into the hearts of the invaders. They had advanced without fear, but now, staring at the lone human warship, something deep inside whispered a warning. They did not know yet. But soon, they would. The alien fleet closed in around the lone human warship. Their ship stretched for miles, engines glowing red against the black of space. From a distance, it looked like a wall of fire advancing toward a single stone. And in their pride, the aliens believed that stone would soon shatter. On the flagship, the commander leaned back in his throne, his sharp teeth flashing as he spoke. "Look at them," he said. "One ship, one fragile piece of human steel. They dare to stand before us as if they matter." Laughter spread across the bridge. Officers traded cruel jokes, already imagining the wreckage. To them, this was not war, it was entertainment. Messages crackled across the fleet. Captains mocked the humans, telling their crews the battle would be over in minutes. Soldiers prepared their weapons with lazy confidence. Some even bet on how many seconds the human ship would last. Fear had no place in their voices. Yet the human warship still did not move. It floated silently, its hull glowing faintly with blue light, its engines pulsing slow and steady. To the invaders, this stillness looked like weakness. "They freeze before us," one officer laughed. "They are already broken." Another sneered. "Perhaps their crew has abandoned ship. Perhaps they wait for mercy." But the silence was not weakness. It was something else. Something the aliens did not yet understand. On a smaller cruiser, a young sensor officer frowned at his screen. The readings were strange, impossible even. The human ship's energy field shifted like a storm, sometimes vanishing, sometimes spiking, beyond measurable limits. Weapons data came back blank as though the ship refused to be scanned. He spoke quietly. "Commander, this ship is wrong. It does not follow the patterns." His superior glared at him. "Enough. Do not let fear blind you. It is only human scrap metal." The officer said no more, but his claws shook as he watched the ship glowing faintly in the dark. The gun invaders were too confident to see the danger. On every ship, soldiers spoke with arrogance. "We will fire once and they will burn. We will drag their wreckage home as a trophy." Humans should never have left their planet. Their words built walls around their fear. Pride was the Empire's shield, and they believed it stronger than any weapon. The commander of the flagship raised his hand. "Prepare the first strike." Across the fleet, weapons charged. Cannons hummed with energy, glowing with deadly light. Torpedo bays opened wide, missiles locking onto their lone target. The void trembled under the power of hundreds of ships, preparing to fire as one. But still, the human vessel did not move. Its silence unsettled some. On the bridge of a destroyer, a captain muttered, "Why do they not send a signal? Why do they not run?" His second-in-command shrugged with forced confidence. "Because they are fools. Because they believe one ship can stop us." The commander sneered. "Then let us teach them the truth." The order echoed across the fleet. "Fire." And fire they did. Plasma beams cut through the void, hundreds of streams of burning light racing toward the human ship. Torpedoes streaked forward, their trails glowing like falling stars. In seconds, the lone vessel was swallowed in a storm of fire. Explosions filled the dark, bright enough to light the faces of soldiers across the armada. The aliens cheered. On the flagship, officers clapped their claws together, celebrating too soon. "It is done," one said. One volley, and the humans are dust. Others joined the laughter, already preparing reports of another easy victory. But the laughter died as quickly as it began. The fire cleared, and the human warship remained. Its shields glowed bright blue, rippling like water as they absorbed the enemy's attack. Not a scratch marked its hull. Not a single weapon had pierced its defense. The vessel floated calmly, its engines steady, its glow stronger than before. Silence spread across the alien fleet. On the flagship, the commander's smile vanished. His eyes widened as he leaned forward. "Impossible," he hissed. Officers stared at their screens in disbelief, their claws trembling. One whispered, "No shield can withstand that much fire." Another said nothing, only shaking his head as his pride crumbled. And then the human warship shifted. Slowly, almost lazily, it adjusted its position. Its hull gleamed, and the strange blue markings along its frame burned brighter. It looked less like a fragile vessel now and more like a predator, waiting for the moment to strike. The enemy fleet, so confident minutes ago, now felt something they had never felt before. Doubt. On one cruiser, the young sensor officer whispered, "It knows it is watching us." His words spread fear through the crew. No one answered him, but none dared call him wrong. The commander roared to cover his fear. "Fire again! Tear it apart!" Weapons charged once more, the fleet readying another storm. But deep inside, every soldier, every officer, every captain felt the same shadow crawling into their hearts. They had advanced without fear. But now, staring at the human warship glowing in silence, they wondered if they had been wrong. The void trembled as the Empire's fleet opened fire again. Hundreds of plasma beams, torpedoes, and heavy cannons cut across space, drowning the lone human warship in endless fire. The heavens glowed red, brighter than 1,000 suns, as if the very stars had turned against humanity. On the enemy ships, soldiers cheered. They believed no vessel could survive such destruction. On the flagship, the commander laughed, sharp and cruel. "Now they are finished. Not even humans can stand against the Empire's full strength." His officers nodded quickly, eager to share in his pride. But when the fire cleared, silence fell. The human warship was still there. Its shields shimmered with blue light, rippling gently, untouched by the storm. The hull showed no cracks, no scars, not even a hint of damage. It floated calmly in the middle of the battlefield, steady as a mountain in a storm. The cheering died. The laughter vanished. On the flagship, the commander's eyes widened. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Impossible." And then the human warship answered. For the first time it moved. Its engines burned bright, flaring like a second sun, pushing the massive vessel forward with silent purpose. Its hull gleamed, the strange blue lines pulsing like veins of lightning. Slowly, it turned to face the nearest enemy cruiser. A deep hum filled the void. Panels opened across the warship's surface. A cannon emerged, long and sleek, its core glowing with an energy no alien had ever seen before. It gathered power in silence, the glow building brighter and brighter until the stars themselves seemed to pale beside it. On enemy ships, alarms screamed. "Unidentified weapon detected. Energy levels off the scale." Panic spread like fire through the crews. Some shouted to fire again, others screamed to retreat. The commander roared for silence, but his voice shook with fear. The cannon fired. A beam of pure energy tore across the void, cutting through space like a blade. It struck the alien cruiser dead center. For one moment, the ship glowed white. Then, it split apart in silence, its core exploding into a storm of fire. Thousands of alien soldiers vanished in an instant. The survivors froze. Every officer, every soldier, every captain who saw it knew the truth. No Empire weapon had ever done this. No fleet in the galaxy could have destroyed one of their cruisers so quickly, so cleanly. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. And then the human warship fired again. Another beam, another cruiser torn apart. Flames lit up the battlefield, debris scattering across the void. In seconds, two of the Empire's strongest ships had been erased. On the flagship, officers shouted in panic. Their weapon ignores shields. It cuts through armor like paper. We cannot stop it. Their words shattered the illusion of confidence. Pride gave way to terror. The commander's claws dug into his throne. He tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. His heart pounded in his chest. He had believed humanity weak, fragile, latecomers to the stars. Now, staring at the glowing warship, he realized they had been wrong. Horribly wrong. On smaller ships, soldiers whispered in fear. It hunts us. We are prey. The words spread faster than commands, infecting crews with panic. Some captains tried to retreat already, engines flaring as they turned from the battle. But the human warship did not chase wildly. It moved with calm, ruthless precision. Its weapons fired again and again, each strike cutting down another vessel. Cruisers cracked, destroyers split, battleships burned. The Empire's proud formation shattered under the storm. On the colony surface, survivors looked to the skies. They had seen the first human shot, had watched enemy ships die where once they had believed no power could touch them. Tears filled their eyes. They wept, not from fear but from awe. The humans were not only protecting them, they were changing. The galaxy. In the bunker, a young soldier whispered, "It is not a warship. It is a god of war." The commander of the alien fleet finally shouted the order he had never spoken before. "Regroup! All ships, regroup now!" His voice cracked, but no one obeyed. The fleet was no longer united. It was broken. Captains screamed their own orders. Ships scattered in chaos, every crew desperate to survive. The human warship pressed forward. It had been silent until now, a watcher in the dark. But with its first strike, it had revealed itself. It was not prey, it was the predator. The first shock had come, and the Empire would never forget it. The silence after the first human strike was heavy. Wreckage drifted where proud alien ships had once stood. Fires burned across the void, glowing faintly against the endless black. And in the center of it all, the human warship glowed with calm blue light, steady and unbroken. The alien commander gritted his teeth, fury boiling inside him. "Do not falter," he roared. "We are the Empire. We will crush them with numbers." His words echoed through the fleet, desperate, demanding, but hollow. The armada regrouped. Hundreds of ships turned their weapons toward the lone vessel, their engines flaring, their cannons charging for a storm greater than before. Formations shifted. Commanders shouted orders. Soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. They believed that together, with overwhelming firepower, they could drown this enemy. But the humans had other plans. Inside the warship, systems hummed with power. Its AI calculated 1,000 movements in seconds, predicting every path, every shot. Its weapons locked onto targets with terrifying precision. The ship itself seemed alive, as if Earth had built not just a machine, but a predator forged from steel. The aliens fired. The heavens lit up again, beams of plasma and storms of torpedoes racing across the void. The human shields flared, blue light rippling like waves on water. The firestorm slammed into them, yet once again the ship stood untouched. And then it struck back. This time it was not one beam, not one shot. The warship's cannons opened in full. Streams of pure energy tore through the enemy's lines, each one finding its mark. Cruisers exploded, battleships split apart, destroyers burned in silence. The human ship moved forward slowly, methodically, like a predator stepping into a herd, striking with calm precision. On the ground, the survivors watched in awe. The night sky was alive with explosions, bright enough to outshine the stars. Their bunker shook with every blast, but their hearts no longer feared. They saw hope written in fire. The alien fleet began to crumble. Ships broke formation, captains shouting over each other in confusion. Fighters were launched in desperation, swarming toward the human vessel, but they were cut down instantly by its defenses. Missiles never reached their target. Torpedoes vanished. In blue ripples, nothing worked. The commander slammed his fist into the console, rage mixing with fear. "Surround it! Do not let it break our line!" But his fleet was already breaking. Human fire cut holes through their formation, and every attempt to regroup was met with another devastating strike. One alien captain, his ship already burning, whispered the truth to his crew. "This is no ship. This is a nightmare." His words spread, carried by terrified voices, infecting others with dread. The human vessel advanced deeper into the enemy fleet, tearing it apart from within. Its weapons spoke with terrifying silence. No threats, no shouts, no arrogance. Only fire. For centuries, the Empire had ruled with fear. They had silenced countless worlds, mocked the weak, and crushed every voice that dared cry for help. But now in this battle, they finally felt what their victims had felt. Helplessness. On the surface, the survivors wept as they watched the Empire's armada collapse. "We are saved," one whispered. Children pointed at the glowing blue vessel, cheering with pure joy. Soldiers who had once buried their heads in despair now lifted them high, fists clenched, eyes burning with pride. The turning point had come. The galaxy's predators were no longer hunters. They were prey. The battlefield was silent at last. The roars of cannons were gone, the storms of plasma faded. What remained was wreckage. The Empire's fleet, once proud, once feared, now drifted as shattered metal across the void. Flames flickered in the darkness, glowing faintly before dying out. Bodies and broken ships spun together, silent reminders of a fleet that believed itself invincible. In the center of it all, the human warship stood untouched. Its hull glowed softly with blue light, steady, calm, unbroken. It did not boast. It did not roar. It only lingered in the wreckage, its silence louder than any voice. On the surface of the colony, the survivors looked to the skies. For hours they had cowered in fear, waiting for death, but now they stared with wide eyes, mouths open, hearts pounding. They had watched the impossible. They had seen the Empire fall. A mother held her child close and whispered, "Remember, this day." Humanity came. Soldiers who had nearly given up now stood tall, tears streaming down their faces, their voices trembling as they whispered thanks to the ship above. In the command bunker, the leader of the survivors gripped the edge of the console, staring at the glowing vessel. His voice shook with awe. One warship stood against an empire. Around him his officers nodded, unable to speak. Words felt too small for what they had witnessed. But in the broken remains of the enemy fleet, fear was the only voice. The Empire's survivors fled. A handful of ships, scarred and burning, escaped into hyperspace. They carried no victory. They carried only terror. The soldiers on board could not stop shaking. The captains could not stop whispering. Over and over the words spread. It was only one ship, one human ship. That message would spread across the galaxy faster than any fleet. On neutral worlds, people would whisper in bars and markets. "Did you hear? The humans destroyed an Empire's armada." On rival planets, leaders would sit in silence, realizing their old maps of power were now useless. And in the Empire itself, doubt would fester like rot. Their greatest weapon, fear, was gone. Because now they knew something worse. They were not the strongest. They were not the hunters. And if one warship could do this, how many more did Earth hold in silence? On the colony below, the people raised their eyes and hands to the sky. For the first time in generations, they felt safe. The warship above them was more than steel. It was a promise. Humanity had answered their SOS. Humanity had not ignored their cry for help. The galaxy had mocked humans, but now humanity had proven itself in fire. Inside the human vessel, there was no celebration. No songs, no speeches. The crew worked in silence, recording damage reports, scanning the wreckage, watching the remaining enemy flee. They knew the truth. This was not the end. This was the beginning. The galaxy would not stay quiet after this. But they had done their duty. They had protected the innocent. They had shown the galaxy what Earth could do. The commander of the warship looked out across the burning battlefield, his face calm. His words were soft, almost a whisper, but every soldier aboard heard them. The message is clear: humanity will not bow, humanity will not break. Engines flared. The warship turned slowly, drifting away from the wreckage. Its lights glowed brighter, then dimmed as it prepared to slip into hyperspace. The survivors below cried out, begging it to stay, but they knew it could not. It had other skies to guard, other signals to answer, and then it was gone. The colony was silent again, but it was a different silence. Not fear, not despair. A silence of peace, a silence of survival. Across the stars, the story spread. It carried on every ship, through every port, into every council chamber. Whispers became rumors. Rumors became fear, and fear became respect. The galaxy would never forget the words spoken that night. Passed from survivor to survivor, they advanced without fear, until Earth's warship appeared, and with that, a new age had begun.